Welcome to B.T.S Business Talent Success. I'm your host, Danica, bringing you the conversations and strategies that fuel unstoppable confidence in business and life. Real talk, real growth, real behind-the-scenes moments, not just the highlight reel. Our brand new wearable impact line is officially live for the boost that you can wear. These pieces are designed to hype you up everywhere you go. Wear the tees inside a blazer for that dress it up, dress it down magic that works in every room you step into. Tap the link in the show notes to shop the drop. While you're there, jump into the VIP email list to get first dibs on freebies, guest bonuses, exclusive community invites, surprise drops, and all the juicy B.T.S you can't get anywhere else. Ready? Let's get into it. Hi, Roy. Would you like to tell us a bit about your business?
So first of all, thank you very much for having me on the show.
You're welcome. Thank you for coming.
Yeah, so I suppose I'm a podcaster. I have 6 shows. I'm a podcast coach, and I'm also doing virtual assistants of another business that I'm a partner with that, and another business, BrainGym.fitness, where we're kind of looking at the aging and how you do connectivity and just improving life.
Sounds good. You want to tell us a bit about your podcasting?
Yes, 2018 is when I started first. So the speaking podcast was the first one. And it's kind of like I overcome the fear of public speaking. I was really nervous and shy. And I was kind of late to the game and decided, okay, I need to get my message out. I joined the Toastmasters and then just kind of said, okay, I'm all in on this. And then started becoming a mentor to a lot of people, entered all competitions, got into the final of 5 countries, done an open mic, TEDx, done open comedy. So that was kind of easy transition when I kind of learned about podcasting. I've got plenty of people that I can interview for this. So that was kind of the first one. Then the next one was meditation. I interview people talking about meditation, breathwork, even different religions, chakras, things like that. And I benefit from it as well. I've got a load of meditations on it because I was listening to ones and then they disappear or else they became paid. So my kind of mission was, okay, there's a meditation here from 1 minute to 2 hours. It's always going to be free. And that was kind of the way that I kind of set about that one. I've learned Polish podcast. So I'm Irish from Cork in Ireland. 18 years ago, I moved to Poland, a place called Łódź, which is in the center of Poland, and always trying to learn the language. So I kind of realized the way that they teach languages isn't great because they're always trying to get you to get grammar. And even when I was hiring people, they were like, I know there's 16 tenses, simple present, simple past, simple future, and all this. And I'm looking at them going, you don't need that. You just need to talk. And people could write beautiful, but then they panic when they had to have a conversation. So with the Polish podcast, the way I was doing it, I was the student and then I had a co-host that was the teacher, and it was like 5 to 10 minutes. And it was like, if you're going to a mechanic, how would you say things like that? If you're going to a hairdresser, if you're going to a dentist, things that you need. And then you do a little bit of grammar, but it was always about things that will benefit you. And it's got millions of downloads. It just resonated with people. And even with my son, like my son is Polish, his mom is Polish, and he does very well in English. Because, not just because I'm talking to him in English, but it's just the way that I kind of train him. And, even if we're writing on WhatsApp, I don't give out to him if he's getting something wrong. I just kind of mention it casually or just respond with the message with the correct way. And without him even realizing it, he's fluent. And it's a great way to be. And, sometimes people, they're spending a couple of hours to learn a language and then they get tired and they get to hate it. And it's like forced down their throat, or their parent is trying to make them learn a certain language. Instead of making them enjoy it, and like if you like, say The Simpsons, hey, watch The Simpsons in English and things like that, things that they like, and just buy a game in the language, whether they want to learn Spanish or whatever, just buy something that they will learn something that they enjoy. And that way then it's no longer a chore. It just becomes a part of life and take them places, so they actually realize it's handy to actually have a different language, because when you're away, if you're only speaking Polish and you go to Greece or Spain, you don't necessarily have to speak, Spanish or something like that. But a lot of people will speak English and they'll see the benefit. And when they see that, then they'll realize, oh, this is worth my while doing it. Whereas when I went to school, it was like we were learning French at one stage, and it was just a waste. I mean, I did it for 3 years. I can't remember anything. It was just the way that they taught us was so wrong. And even Irish. I mean, I started school in Ireland at 4. And we do Irish. I finished at 17. I went to college at 17. And all I can remember, we were made stand up and say prayers. I went to a Christian brother school. I can remember the prayers. But if you ask me what do the words in the middle mean, take that out and what does it mean? I don't know. So it was just taught so wrong. And it's a shame because I wish I was fluent in Irish. And even the French, I could see the benefit of actually if you could speak French. It was just taught so wrong. And I wish that they'd actually change the way they do it. The next podcast then is The Awakening. That's one exposing fraud and corruption, but with solutions. I'm always kind of, because there's a lot out there that are telling us all the doom and gloom, but I try to look at, okay, what can we do about it? And I've had a lot of famous people on that show. And crypto, because same, I see like rug pulls, a lot of fraud in that. And I didn't want to incorporate it into The Awakening because I said, not everyone's into blockchain technology. And I would turn off some of my listeners. So that's why I kind of created that. And it's amazing because I'm kind of coming at it with no intention, just being curious in what I'm seeing. And I've had experienced crypto people writing to me, didn't even think of this. So it's sometimes you don't have to be an expert in a field to do something. You can actually interview people and learn from them and just ask interesting questions. And the final one then is the podfather. So I get people that go on shows. So, like this, it was actually a client that said it to me. I got him on 250 shows. But when I was on around 100, he said to me, "Oh, you're the podfather." And I was like, "Oh, I like that." And I ended up creating a logo that looks like the Godfather. And I have the mic and the hand coming down with the earphones. And it's basically because sometimes people start the podcast and they just, after 3 shows, they give up, or after 10 shows, they give up. And I was like, no, don't do that. We don't want to be listening to BBC and CNN and things like that. We need to listen to people that are sharing valuable information. And, so even like I mentioned your private garden, one of the ones that you did, the guy talking about kind of when somebody passes and all the information. Like, that's so relevant. You won't see that on mainstream. Nobody's got BBC and all this. They're not going to talk about that. But it's so valuable information that everybody should be hearing.
Yes, it is definitely. He's created this book. It would have helped him. So now he helps other people. Even with your podcast, each one of your podcasts are helping people in a way that is relevant to them at the time. So like, how did you come up with the idea for each of these podcasts?
It was because I was into real estate. I was big into real estate, and I had a big commercial. I had built 30 apartments and houses and everything, and I had a lot of different syndicates. And when the financial crisis happened in Poland or in America, it took a while to come across. And the investors, they were like worth a lot. Some were 10 plus million. And I was like the small boy, but because I was based there and I studied construction economics, that's why and I invested myself in it, but it never came right. And I was putting in more money and I said, look, I'll charge you 10% interest or increase my share at the end of the year. Because I was thinking it's going to come right after a while, and it didn't. I had all different companies, and when I started running out of money, usually with a limited liability company, you kind of go, lost everything, let's start over again and just create something new. That's kind of usually what happens. But nobody had told me I was the president of all these companies and I was personally liable. Instead of making 5 million euro, dollars, whatever, because it all fluctuates, I was personally, through that then, had a lot of court cases, a lot of corruption and everything. And that's how I kind of started doing meditation. It helped me in a bad time in my life. And I went to an event a few years later, and it was a Mind Valley event, A-Fest, and it was What's Your Quest? And when I was there, I was like, it's like, instead of chugging through life, it was like, what's my mission in life? And I was like, all right, I need to expose all this, because I saw so much, like I was in the High Court in Dublin. Like, when you have over 100 court cases and you're seeing the judges being corrupt, 100% corrupt, you're going, there's something seriously wrong when this is happening. So at that event, I decided, all right, I'm going to expose all this. But there was also 2 very good speakers. And I was like, I didn't like speaking, even though when I was I worked in Ireland for 2 companies, 2 big, one is the biggest mechanical contractor. And I was like a contracts manager and a regional manager for another one. But the one part I hated was the meetings. And I could be 20 people at a meeting with the clients and architects and everything. And my voice would go and I just didn't like it. And never kind of changed from that. Just kind of said, yeah, I don't like this. And I kind of made a decision, I need to change this. So when I went back, I kind of embraced the speaking like I mentioned and just said, all right, I can, I'm not afraid of speaking anymore. So that's why the speaking one and the meditation came from, I realized by meditating helped me in a place when things were dark. And I think everybody should try to do it, because there's so much, everyone goes through something and they don't know what you're going through, or they don't know how things are dark till you've done it yourself, especially in real estate and everything. But with meditation, it's like, what are you grateful for? So instead of thinking of what you've lost and the lack, and you're thinking what you're grateful for, because then you start attracting that. And the other one was the act of forgiveness, because so much things had been done to me. It's so much fraud with banks, and even builders done stuff as well. I said, okay, I need to forgive them. And I started forgiving them. Some were easy, but there was others that were like, nah, these are big numbers. And it was like, I was really struggling. And how I changed it is I brought them back to the child, brought them back to the baby. I said, we've unconditional love for a child. You see a baby, it's beautiful to see a child. Baby holds her finger. It's like just melt when you see something like that. I brought them back to that. And I said, they were born like that. They were born with pure love. And it was external circumstances created who they were. That they were either abusive parents, alcoholic parents, or even parents that were taking 2 and 3 jobs just to put food on the table, took their eye off the ball, the child started hanging around with the wrong people and became who they were. And just by doing that, I was able to forgive them. But what it really done is it freed it from me, because there was no longer anger in my blood. And it's so the power of forgiveness is what it does to you.
Yeah, people forget that there's a lot of outside influence. When something happens to you, if you visualize it as it happened for you to learn a lesson, or it happened for you so that you could pave a better way or create light from it, then you're able to move from it. But when you're just chewing on the same problem, you're just poisoning yourself, because you're not actually going, okay, that person or that thing or that environment happened, but what happened from it is I learned and I can grow from that. If they're aware of it, they can either grow and change from it, or they won't. And if they don't, then that's on them. And it's the same as when people think different. Just because they think different doesn't mean that, we can't associate with you because you think different.
And I think you show strength when you're able to, despite other people's belief, whether it's political or whatever's going on, if you can just kind of acknowledge, because even if we look at the social media, the way the algorithms work is they'll keep pushing your belief system to you. And then that reinforces your belief. And then when somebody has a different belief, you just think, no way, I'm totally right. And it's okay, just have the conversation. If you can have an open and honest conversation and just put it on the table, instead of the hatred that's happening in a lot of countries, like even America, left and right.
You can have an open mind and disagree. You don't have to have the same opinion as each other, but it's sad that people don't even have the conversation, don't even sit down and listen to each other, or can't even open their mind a little bit just to either understand or to reflect on it. And then if you still don't agree with it, then you don't agree with it.
I love when I have a conversation with somebody and they tell me something that I did not believe or did not think this was possible. And then I it's not that, even with guests say that I get on, it's not that I'll just believe somebody that says something, but it'll open a little box and I'll go, that's interesting. I want to find out more about that. And then I'll just go down and start researching and looking, and I go, they were right. And I love when I change my mind. And it's okay to put up your hand and go, I thought this 20 years ago because, and now I have a different belief because, and I think sometimes even getting your message across, having that story, because when you're saying that, people straight away, they're on your level, but you say, this is the way I thought because, and that's where they are. And then I found, and sometimes by just having that conversation without being, this is the way it is, you're just telling them a story, then they're more open and they can embrace it.
Do you know what the funny thing is even in film, when I come up with a concept for a script or for anything, just a film idea that pops into my head, or it's like creative juices get flowing, and you think that would be cool if, and there'd probably be too many special effects or a CGI was needed or whatever. So you go, okay, maybe we'll put that on the shelf for later. But just the simple concept of coming up with something and even telling somebody about it and going, what do you think of this? The looks that you get for thinking a little bit outside the box. I mean, you look at the film Inception, and it was a dream within a dream within a dream, and it's like, but the whole world is constantly folding in on itself, etc. If you were to, as the writer of that film, or anything that was like it, or, outside of the box thinking, if you were to have described it, people would have gone, God, you're weird. Like, that's such a crazy idea. But it came to be. And it happened, and they created the film, and it was amazing. And there's a lot of other films that have been really amazing. But you think that talking to somebody about that idea could be so crazy. But yet, it's just an idea. It's like, you can't talk about that. And that is where the issue lies, is that people can't even have the conversation.
The same in school as well. Sometimes if people have a creative idea, teacher shuts them down straight away, or even in the household. And it's just like, don't let people steal your dreams. You can just keep working away. And you'd even hear of a load of authors, they get rejected 100 times and then they become best-selling authors and they have a fantastic living because of it. They just believed in it. And they realized instead of listening to people, because even say the podcast, there's so many people would give you plenty of ideas. You should do this, you should do this, you should do this. And like, they're not doing it and they know better. Like one, I'm expressive with my hands. And I had somebody saying, oh, you should just sit there. Your hands are a distraction. And others say they love that because it's kind of expressing myself, but you get that constantly. And if you accept that, don't live your own life. And I think we tend to tiptoe around our emotions. And the best thing that I've ever done, and I think it's probably the journey that I've been through, I say things as they are. I cut the dice. I mean, if someone isn't, as fast as possible, if you know somebody's not good, you get them out of your life. Don't think, I shouldn't do that. It's like, it's the best. I have never regretted getting people out of my life, because when you do that, you will start attracting like-minded people and you have a way better circle. And whereas most people, they go, I can't do that because they're in the family or they're this, they're that. If it is, just you look after yourself. You can become your best self by making sure you're happiest. And what's the happiest? By surrounding yourself that when you, like how you know as you go into a room or you spend time with them, and if after 15 minutes or an hour your energy levels are just sucked, why be around somebody like that? But don't. You spend the time with the people that lift you.
Yeah, that's right. You should definitely do stuff that aligns with you. And that's it. You can agree to disagree, but when it comes to energy and stuff like that, if it's real bad, then you just can't excuse it. And there are a lot of people that I go, oh, okay, yeah, nope. We're not the right company. It's just not going to work. And I've come across that a lot in business as well, is that you can be in the same job title, the same category, and yet be so very different. And it's all what you want to bring to the table, I guess, when it comes down to it.
And even if you're a business owner, like, there's times I call it firing the client, and a lot of people don't want to do that because it's like, well, it's feeding me, it's giving me money and everything. And what happens is when there's this toxic client, you spend 80% of your time just tiptoeing, trying to make things right, because they're the ones that are sucking your energy. And you're no longer creative. You're not longer doing. And as soon as you fire them, because most people think, oh, I can't do that. You just, this isn't working, and just moving on. It's the best thing that you do, because the next day you feel so good and you have a bounce in your step, and then you start attracting way more, and you start attracting people that you love to work with. But what I say is, even with clients, even though you might think, oh, I need this money, even if they're a big client, no, don't tolerate it. Respect yourself.
It's definitely not worth it. A lot of people put it down to money, but that's the thing. If you're following your gift and your alignment, then money flows. Walk away and your health benefits for it every time.
Absolutely.
So with your business and everything, what was your biggest pivot?
With the court cases, I was in the High Court in Ireland, so I had 3 houses in Ireland, so I lost my personal belongings as well. And I just witnessed, you go into the court, like normally you'd have, plaintiff defendant and a judge. The way it's there is like one judge and about 100, 150 cases going on. And it's mainly barristers that are there. They're high-end, expensive. And most people didn't even turn up. They were just ruling in favour of the banks plus interest plus penalties. And I witnessed that one said, we'd KPMG, we were overcharged €15,000 on our mortgage. And he said, when was that? 2 years ago. You should have took it up with them then. Banged, rule in favour of the banks plus interest plus penalties. Another woman came up, she had a piece of paper, she was shaking. She said, my husband has died from cancer, from stress. I don't know what to do. I'm really sorry. Bang, rule in favour of the banks plus interest plus penalties. And I was like, whoa, this is bad. The way that it's done is like they make a sworn statement, which is an affidavit. Honestly, I didn't even know what an affidavit was. Yeah. And it was all lies. So I went away and then created an affidavit. I had 43 points. And I had the bank on so much fraud. Like they had 20 different signatures of all different people with the exact same signature. And so and they couldn't respond to my affidavit, but they kept, like, I could see that they were just totally against me. And then I just I was representing myself because I'd lost everything at that stage. So I was inside the court and I'd say something and they'd go, all right, we have to come back. And it's a different judge each time. So it's not as if the judge is reading all the documentation. He's just turning up and you're just hopefully just a quick mention of what's going on. And your life is dependent on that, because basically you're in the ditch for a lot of money based on how he makes a ruling. Mm-hmm. And I had one judge that said, why didn't you respond to their affidavit? And he offered me, they said €1,400 for his travel expenses, and you better respond to the affidavit within 3 weeks or there'll be serious consequences. And I thought I'd have this, because I just thought the way they done everything, they got rid of the properties without even telling me how they were sold, every single thing that they'd done. I had an offer of 200,000 on one of the properties that the mortgage was 220. So the way the crisis happened, this property was worth 400,000 euro, and then it went down to 125. That shouldn't happen, but that's the way the things went. So I actually, as it went on, the market was kind of coming up a bit. I had an offer of 200,000, and I said full and final settlement, and they wouldn't accept it. Yet they gave a 300 million write-off to a billionaire. And I actually put that in my affidavit. I said, so they came after me. They sold it for less and came after me for the excess. So that's what I was going through. And on the last day, I went, and I thought I was going to win. And it was a different judge. And he was like, I think it was 9 o'clock. I had to be there in the morning. And then he started and goes, this is going to take longer. And just skipped it. And then he was going to do it after lunch. Then started going through it for a few minutes. No, we'll wait till the end. So I was there for the whole day listening to all the cases. But if I disappeared and they called it, they'd say, he's not here. They just rule against me. So I had to be there. And the barrister started saying everything. And then it was my turn. And the judge kept stopping me. I couldn't say nothing. Somebody stood up and said, what's going on here? And he said, are you related to him? And he said, no, you're getting kicked out unless you shut up. That's what he said to the guy. Because he could even see. In the end, he just said, not rule in favour of the bank. But then they were trying to apply the interest. I said, I'm paying this for 2 years. And he goes, fair enough. So I was the only person that got some sort of win. And I said, I'm going to go to the EU about this. This is total corruption. And you have to appeal to be able to go to the EU. And the way that it works, some countries, if you have a court case with the money, it just stays at whatever it was. So it was like 65,000 euro. But if you take the barrister's account, that could have been 300,000 because they're high end. And there was so many. Yeah. And if I appealed, I'd have that, opening it up again, plus the new one. I said, I'm not going to do that because I know it's corrupt. So I would have had 65,000 versus maybe 500,000. And so I didn't do it. And it was like every single thing that they're doing. And then I started learning more. And even in Poland as well, I thought it's every country is doing this. And because of that, then I started going, how are they having so much control over us? Because, like I mentioned with the baby, we're born free. So that's why I started learning sovereignty. I read over 20 books. I started learning UCC, common law, sovereignty, and realized the power of the signature. When they're trying to get you in, they're using all capitals. And I was like, no, that's not me. And if there's anything that you should learn in life is I got into so much trouble with solicitors and accountants and everything because we tend to just go, they know better than us and just pass off and leave them do their thing. Don't ever do that. Every case that I've won was because I was paying attention. Even when I had solicitors next to me, it was I'm paying attention. And I go, one time there was a document. I said, that's not an original. That's a scan. And I was correct. Another time there was a forged signature and I put a line through my numbers when I have a 0. And I said, that previous one was my signature. That's not. And this is why. And you just see the judge's face and it changed based on it. So if no solicitor will ever do that for you, you have to pay full attention. And if you're in business, especially real estate, it's a part of the game. You're going to be in court. It's, because I've built 30 apartments, I've done. It's just the way it is. Whether there's somebody that's buying isn't happy, there's always cases, and it's a case of pay total attention. And I recommend everyone as well, create a book of file of everything. Make it simple because you're not scattered then. And then prior to a court case, I just open my book and I go through everything and everything is in your mind. And it's, it's not as if you can go, well, let me check this page and start reading. That's not the way it works in a courtroom. So you can actually state what's going on and you have a way better chance of winning when you have yourself organized.
Yeah. So how did the property business come out on the other side?
It was with one of the commercial. What happened is the valuers were working with the bank and this one, I'll talk in dollar terms because, it was Polish zloty, but people will understand dollars more. It was about 1.25 million valued. And when the valuer done it, they were basically destroying the property saying, it's bad because of this. That never happens in evaluation. Nobody writes that in evaluation. And so the way that the auction works is it's 75% on the first auction and 50% on the second auction. So they valued it at 500,000. And the way that they do it is they have a screenshot. So they can prove, we advertised it, nobody turned up. But they put it up for a few seconds and they have proof that it was advertised, just that nobody turned up, but nobody really knows about it. And then they would have bought the property at 250,000 with their own cronies. But what happened is it was a housing project, another development that I had, asked me about the documentation. And usually when you're going through that, you just say, I don't want to know about this or don't leave me alone. But I just said, all right, I'll meet you. And I I showed him all the drawings and everything, even though I was going through all this. And he told me, don't. He gave me great advice. But he ended up buying the property and taking the debt with the bank. They got a brilliant deal, but it took a big portion off me. Like with the interest and everything, that was going to be over $1 million, that one alone, a commercial property. So he took that. But then he told me on another one, don't go into the auction because they'll ask, is there somebody here? But he went there with his friend. They were bribed. This was a housing. They got their own cronies to buy. So they were bribed when they were in there not to bid. And you're like, ooh. And that one, I was waiting for that. That disappeared. That was another big one. And it's like they knew I knew. I don't know. But that disappeared. And eventually I just got all the decks cleared. And it was like, somebody said to me, is you don't concentrate on all the lack of stuff. And it's like the meditation as well. It's like, just look at what I can be doing to start earning, and you just change the shift, and it just kind of started getting right. But I think from it, even though it was a hard time, I'm totally present in life now and enjoying every moment. It's like when I'm with my child, I'm doing stuff, I'm with him. Like most of the time you're not doing that. Most people don't do that. They're in work thinking of their family. When they're at home, they're doing their work. They're never present. So I'm totally present. I don't use a credit card. I haven't used a credit card I don't have a credit card. If you have money, you have money. And then you don't start thinking, it'll be right, I'll just bail this out. Because you start moving things around. I mean, at one stage, when I was going through this, I had €42,000 and they settled full and final settlement at 12,000. So I got a 30 grand write-off on that. But when you start looking at that, it's like they have floors to throw money at people that don't have the money to spend, and then they catch them in trouble, and then they own them. And there's some people that when they don't know how to get out of this, they're working all their life and their accounts are emptied. I mean, I've had it where they just empty your account. Money going to your bank, just take it out. And it's like you start learning your sovereignty and understanding what you can do and realizing the power that these people, they don't have control over you. I mean, like even say the voting, just a lot of people, like they just had the Polish elections there recently, and I don't vote because they can never say to me, you have to do this. I never put you in power. I never agreed you have control over me. Whereas if I cast a vote for you, they're kind of saying, hey, you agreed to this. So I kind of think a lot differently based on what I've been through. But like say, I don't know, do you have that in Australia, jaywalking? In Poland they have that. They have in America definitely. You cross the road, and I get it. You don't want to be walking out and somebody having to jam on their brakes. But if you're waiting there and there's no car coming, you're not going to stand for 5 minutes. That doesn't make sense. Yeah. And it's just a case of who's the injured party. If they are waiting, which they do at the corner just to give you a fine, who's the injured party? There's no injured party. And it's just kind of questioning that. And I think when you realize that everything is kind of set up, like if you look at the city, how they work, every single thing is set up to kind of attack you and take your money. And just understand there's rules to everything. Like, say, pension. I mean, I'm 52 now. When you turn 50, you can take your pension, and I had a bond and a pension. They weren't massive, but they were, because the company had paid into them. I never paid into them, but the company that I was working with in Ireland. So you get 25% tax-free, but then they tax the rest at 50%. Mm-hmm. And most people would just say, nah, it is what it is. I didn't. And I got every single penny back. It took a while. It took a few months. I got the bond 1 year, and this year I got all the tax they took. And it's like most people would think that's impossible. Not one accountant would do that for you. No. So when you understand how things work, you can really look after your own finances as well.
Well, it is, even you talking about the credit cards, having a personal credit card is different to having a business credit card. When it's personal, it's pretty much the debt is against you. It's not against anything else.
And even just the way they get you to sign stuff, a lot of the times, even when it's a company, they'll do trickery to make you think, just sign this. They make you personally liable. Just be very careful because,
The amount of people I've seen, but it'd be given a contract and they can't even sit there and read the contract. They just go, yep, I'll just sign it. There you go. And it's like they think they walked in for whatever it was and that's what's written on the paper. So they sign for it, but they haven't even read it. Whereas I'm that person who sits there and goes, nope, I will sit here and I will read it. And you can almost feel the person on the other side of the table getting really aggravated with the fact that you're sitting there and reading through everything, including the fine print. And I'll be like, yeah, line by line. And if when you start reading a book or something and you go, didn't even really pay attention, you go back to the topic and you start reading. I'm like, sometimes that's me combing back through it again. I'm like, yep. Just give me a second and keep going. But it's not until you get to the end and then you're like, yes, I agree with this part, but not this part. And I have on contracts lined out what I don't agree with and put my initials next to it. and then the rest of it signed off on. But even like the terminology of, if you are signing for it willingly or not, then, you have to put that on there, because if you don't have that on there, then there's nothing to say that it wasn't.
One thing that I find very strange is a lot of the times these contracts, it's in like 2mm writing. It's not normal 10, then exactly. It's like, that's like the side effects that you see with the farmer. Like, there's like, you don't say. When I was going through this before everything was taken, I had interest only on the 3 properties. So they were actually cast positive. And then they changed it overnight that it had to be repayments. And I was like, listen, I can't do that. And they wouldn't keep it. And I had ECB plus 0.1% or plus 1% or 0.9%. So a low, very low interest rate. And they were trying to get me to sign something which they were like, after 6 months, they could charge it on. And I wouldn't do it. I said, no, I don't agree to this. And in the end, we saved so much because of they weren't able to increase. The people that I know that signed that, including one of the clients that I had fired because I knew he had a lot of properties, they were like triple the interest rate once the period ran out. They just decided, we can charge what we want now. And people got into that because they just signed it willy-nilly. And it's strange, they'll never email you the thing or send you the contract so you have time. It's all done intentionally, so you kind of feel under pressure. You feel, they're sitting across me, I can't waste their time. Never do that. You can even say, I want to take this away in my own time. I'm going for a coffee. I'll come back later. Don't ever be forced into signing, because as you said, there's so many times the trickery and the way they word it. If you don't understand it, go away and research it, or ask somebody that does. Even now with the AI, you can even check, what does this really mean? You can even, if you have an electronic copy, put it in. Where am I at danger here? I've even done that with some contracts that you get, the stuff I say, how am I exposed on this? And you see the stuff that come up and you go, ooh, because there's so much trickery in the world, especially with banks. And I've seen people just get excited. Oh, I'm getting the money and let me sign. And no, don't ever do that.
It's the same with whatever you do. As soon as you have agreed to anything, you've said, I understand. It's all in the wording. You have to be very careful about what you say and who you say it to. So where did business go from there? Are you happy now doing podcasting?
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoy that. It's I think I've over 1,600 episode released with all of my stuff, and with so many different guests that I get on, it's like my mind is just changed. I've total different belief systems based on people coming on, and then just like even coaching people. Like I enjoy, especially if they have a mission, that if they're doing something that's going to help mankind. For me, I really go deep in. It's like, because when you know that somebody's sharing something that's going to help somebody, it doesn't matter. You might never meet them, but you can save a family. And then which in turn, you don't know that 10 layers down, that could be the person that makes the world a better place, because based on you just putting it out there. And when I see people that are, whether they're trying to help people with mental health, there's so many different things out there. There's so many beautiful people because the experience they've got, and they go, I've been through this. I can share my knowledge and help you to, even if you're going through it, how to get out of it or to prevent you from going into it. So that's why, that helps. And just, with the virtual assistants, that was kind of with me. At one stage, I'd use, say, Fiverr, and, you do the research, you see the 5 stars, and you go, okay. And they always start off okay. And then I was like, you're watching them. And I was like, you always got, they're not serving me. And then with Upwork, you get screenshots. And same thing, they start off great. And you see the results and they're posting stuff and everything. And then it's like, you're just seeing all the screenshots and you don't see anything. So I'm convinced that a lot of them have 2 computers. They just log in to your websites and pretend they're working on it and they're doing something else. And it just annoyed me. The way that we're doing is we're like, you can hire somebody on an hourly basis if you want it, but it's more packages, what you want done. If you want the clips broke up and posted, or, websites done, or courses, like we can do anything, but it's mainly, we know what we're doing, and we sit down with the clients and we talk what we're going to do. And that way you're not looking over your shoulder making sure we're doing it, because we know exactly what we're supposed to do. Instead of you're paying by the hour and they're going, are they working? And you're checking them and you're taking your eye off the ball of what's actually really making you the money, trying to manage these people. And that's the way we're doing it in a way that you can trust. Plus, with the office, it's like if we have passwords and stuff like that, because I know you can kind of, there's some, say YouTube and things like that, you can create a manager, but there's others, you've got close access, and there's people that will start taking your stuff and they kind of hold you to ransom. So even with the team, they don't have it. It's like my business partner has access to it and they're working on computers. So even though we've got all their details and everything, we don't even, we've never been compromised. And I think we're there to try to protect our clients, which is the most important thing.
So with the podcast, how do you manage to get that monetized or as a full-time income?
Well, there's different things. Like one, what I would say for a lot of people is when you're your own service, that you're kind of putting that out as opposed to getting sponsors, because some countries you can put in inserts and all that doesn't really pay well, because you need massive numbers to justify that, and it can be anywhere from $10 per thousand up to maybe 40, and then there's kind of start, middle and end, but then it's a lot of work unless it's digitally inserted depending on the platform you use. Another way is affiliates. So like I had a guy, how to win in court without a lawyer, and I have an affiliate system set up for that. And it's like he charges $250, he gives 20%. And it's just there, and I have it on my website, and you just see a check coming. So affiliates can work very well as well. And what the ones I love are the lifetime ones. So sometimes, whether it's vidIQ or Podpage or one of these services, they constantly pay. Like Podmatch as well, where we connect. Podmatch is very good for that. It's a lifetime one, so as long as the person is a customer. Where some of them, they'll give you a commission just for the first year. And that's not great because you don't want to have a million of them. So affiliates can be a good way of actually making money. And then, like for me, when I'm guesting, or when people are guesting with me, I've on my form and I'm just saying, hey, are you interested in sponsorship? Are you interested in virtual assistant? Are you interested in doing a tour and all that? And they just did it. So I've never done a hard sale. It's like they've already expressed an interest, and then I've actually, it's a setup as well. So I invite people, hey, if you want to do this, you can earn from that. But one thing is I'd say to be aware of with affiliates, I've had a few, and there was nothing came in, and I was like, that's not right. I just know the numbers and everything. And there was another one, and it was talking about like capital gains and not paying that. And it was high end, but because I've got at least 50% of my listeners in the US, I knew there was definitely going to be customers coming from, and there was nothing. And then I wrote and I said, hey, is there any kind of leads? And they were like, oh, the system isn't. And in the end, I realized they're just not paying it. So, just pay attention to it, and you'll find there's some now I'll see the checks coming in, and I didn't even know they're so transparent in the way they do it, and I love that. And then you're more push them ones like if say Revolut, there's different banks, Wise and all that, and some of them people would sign up, and then you get, but I knew somebody had signed up, they told me, and I didn't get the commission. And I was like, sorry, but this person, sorry. And I was like, that's not good enough. So I just removed them, because I shouldn't have to tell somebody, because usually you wouldn't know. So with that, it's a good way of making some fun. But I think the most way of making money is your own business, that you're talking about it, and you're letting people know what you do. And so even when you're, having the conversation, sometimes or even do a tour as well. When you go on other shows, you can be talking. And what I say is, a lot of times people, they kind of hold back because they're afraid to give everything up. Because, the amount of knowledge that you've got, whatever skill set you're doing, you've so much more. So no matter, even if you give so much knowledge in an hour or whatever the length of a show is, there's still way more. And I think by doing that, people go, they know what they're doing. And then they're interested in doing with you. So they're the ways that I think are the best for monetizing. There's a few other things, but I think they are the big ones.
Yeah. So is there anything else that you would love to be doing on top of this, or is this where you're at now?
Well, I kind of wrote a book, but I didn't release it. But I plan on, because I was exposing a lot of stuff, and I was told not to release it because it was too, I think it was ahead of what people would understand. And when I went to kind of release it, when more people were kind of understanding what's going on in the world, a lot of my resources were gone. They were taken off. And I know that from even having guests on, anyone to do with natural health and everything, all their sites were attacked and taken down. And you're like, that's interesting. And even with my meditation, I've got sound healing frequencies that I know work removed. Why would they remove that? Is it doing any damage? No, it's healing people. But what I want to do is, I've had so many brilliant conversations, and even on the sovereignty, I want to create a book on that. I want to create a course on that. So kind of going forward, it's all connected with what I've done, because that's another way of actually as well, because you have so much content in a podcast that you can even use the AI. You can extract it, Otter AI. There's a few different platforms you can take out the stuff, and then create a book from that, and then create a course from that. And then even if you're doing a course, then they can actually get coaching based on that. So have it as a kind of lead generation. And
very handy to know for the people that are trying to get started as well with podcasting. A lot of people link all of the stuff that they speak about in their show notes as well. What is something that you would love to tell people that would inspire them to follow their gift?
if I look at, say, even podcasting, if you have a mission, if you have a gift that you can share, if you have a talent or even a curiosity, don't be afraid to start, because sometimes people think this is all technical and everything. I'm not a technical person. I've got a mic, Audio Technics mic, that's working for 7 years, even though I've got a spare one there just in case. It's a USB that connects into the computer. It's easy. Everything is easy. You can do Zoom, you can just stream out. There's so many different platforms. You just find something that works with you. It's easy. You upload it. Everything is very easy to do. But what you benefit from knowing that you can help somebody by having a conversation, and it goes out, you might never meet them, but if you do something that's going to benefit the world, instead of complaining about everything, think of how you can make it better and start doing it. And the more people that's making it better makes more better people, and the world becomes a better place.
Yes, I love that. Trying to inspire other people and giving back any way you can with your talents. Especially yours are everything from business to sovereignty through to natural health, and you name it, between all of your 6 podcasts. I love it. Each one has its own specific niche and its own audience, so it's amazing. You're reaching a lot of people through each avenue. You must have a lot of views per podcast as well.
Yeah, I mean, I say that as well for people, because sometimes people look at the numbers, they think, I mean, I've got millions, there's millions. I mean, I can track most of it, but sometimes there's even platforms that you find and you go, oh, I've got so many followers on that. And you think they all kind of go back to your main one. They don't. I log into, the Apple, and I see all the different stats. I go into Spotify, I see all the stats, but there's other ones, and you can't be tracking everything. Plus, I do shared ones with, 4 or 6 podcasters, and they're sharing it all. So there's millions on that as well. But it's not, like, at the start, it was like, I remember after about 3 weeks, I was going, oh, I'm nearly 100, I'm 97. I was trying to get people, did you listen? And then I got to 1,000. And when I got to 1 million, and that was combining a few of the shows, like, it was kind of, it's not, don't be watching it's good to track to make sure that it's moving in the right direction. Like I put it out in BitChute, YouTube and Rumble, and I'm watching the averages. The averages are going up. That's the most important thing. But don't make it about the numbers. Just make it about having a good conversation, putting it out there, doing as much marketing as you can to share it, to go into the right groups. Like, don't just put it out to Facebook. Find the pages of where them people would be, your ideal listeners would be, and share it there, because they will resonate with it, and then they'll start following you and sharing it. And just by doing that, then the numbers will come. But don't make it about the numbers, because, like, if you go into a room and you're doing a speech, and just say only there's 20 people there, and you're getting 20 per episode, most people, they're delighted to go into a room and talk to 20 people. But if they're looking at their podcast, they think they're a failure because they're looking at all the big boys. And don't do that. Just look, even if you're getting 10, it goes to 11, celebrate the 10% increase. Just constantly do that. Don't ever think, because if even 3 people are coming in listening and you changed someone's life, like even say the conversation here now, and it resonated with just one person, we'd still have the conversation because you've helped someone. I mean, it's a lot more get to reach it, and then that person then becomes a different person and shares some other message. So once you do it that way, I think the ripple effect is unlimited.
It's amazing, isn't it? You can affect one person. You think about how special that one person's life is, and how much, like, they may have needed you in every ounce of that meaning for just that second, and then you have put out something that I just happened to be listening to at the time, and it's like, boom, you've impacted them, and that's that. You've just flipped everything for them. You've changed their mind about something. You've given them a reason to live if it goes that deep, or you've given them a new perspective to just see the better in something, or to see an answer where they needed it. Like, that is really special. And if anybody can do that, then it's amazing. It doesn't matter whether it's in business or arts, or maybe it's in accounting or something like that. Like, it could just be anything at all. So whatever your specialty is, whatever your gift is, why aren't you putting it out there? It doesn't have to be a podcast. It could be anything, right? Like, it could be a book. It could be just reaching out to the right people on the right platform. So it's definitely, people should definitely look into what their gift is, what the talent is, and stop putting it on hold for one day. One day we'll get there.
And the thing is, you don't kind of chug through life when you're doing something you love. Bounce out of bed. You'll work at the weekend, because when you've time for you, it's not a job, it's a passion, and then you enjoy it so much more, as opposed to thinking, oh, I must do this because this is what's feeding the business. Even if you have a job and you can't get away from that, you can do something on the side, and eventually you can make the shift. Don't have excuses. We all have excuses. The best thing is, how can you overcome your excuse?
Well, that's the thing as well. I found that even getting up to start the day, or just sitting down to do work. You're not putting all these excuses in front because you actually love what you're doing. And when you love what you're doing and you're also helping people at the same time, it's got this added like chef's kiss. You just want to get to it, and you're doing exactly the same thing with your 6 and everything else that you're doing. I think it's amazing. Well, so on behalf of the audience, I want to thank you very much for doing what you're doing and helping a lot of people in your area of expertise, and also for coming on and talking to everybody about what you do.
Thank you very much. Thoroughly enjoyed the conversation.
Me too. I would love to have you on again another time.
Yeah, would love to.
Goodbye for now.
Thank you for listening to B.T.S. Business Talent Success. If today fired you up, hit follow and share this episode with a friend who's ready to rise too. Our inspirational merch line is live and it's waiting for you. These shirts go from casual coffee runs to boardroom energy with a simple blazer flip. Grab your piece using the link in the show notes, and make sure you join the VIP Insider email list while you're there. You'll unlock early access to freebies, bonuses, special events, and all the B.T.S action that keeps you ahead of the game. I cannot wait to hang out with you in the next episode, so stay bold, stay ambitious, and make your own success story worth telling.